Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is Cafecito con. It is a show where we invite guests to inform us, enlighten us, and inspire us by sharing about themselves and the spaces they step into and make their own. We are your hosts, Delila Vasquez, an intergenerational duo, hoping to bring you conversations about women in our community, with women in our community, and for women in our community. We call our talk Cafecito con, to have an opportunity to have an open forum for a variety of conversations and content. We want to share a cup of love and create spaces for womanhood, to chat, to learn, to grow. We want to reclaim our spaces of conversation about each other. We're not gossiping or chismeando. We are compartiendo, sharing our stories. More importantly, we're giving our best to each other. We'll talk about faith, life, business, hopes, and dreams. And today we have a very good friend of mine as a guest, and I'm really excited. I promoted her as someone who inspires to have businesses with profit first in mind, and someone who has a lot of love for our community, who has a lot to offer from her experiences and her knowledge, but also as a human being, as a mom, as a wife, as a friend. So welcome, Silvia, and thank you so very much for saying yes and accepting our invitation.
Thank you for having me. It's so exciting to be here and being part of this group of women that are making a difference out in society.
Yes, we all play a part, right? And this is the space where we share how we play a part. So Silvia, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know some, but our listeners don't know you. So share a little bit of who's Silvia Guardado.
Okay, so Silvia Guardado is so many things. As you ladies say, wear so many shoes and worn so many in the past as well. I am an immigrant from El Salvador. I came here at the very tender age of 18. Not too long ago, so don't say, oh. I am a mother of 5 beautiful young adults, and that's one of my greatest accomplishments, and I'm very proud of that. I know people, when they hear the number 5, go like, oh my God, but
It's a lot.
I'm a survivor. So I love that. I am wife, daughter, a sister, I'm a business owner, and within my business, believe it or not, I'm also a therapist. Don't tell my clients.
None of them are listening.
Yeah, and so I wear different shoes and I do different things at different times. And I am a woman. We were talking about Toastmasters earlier. And one of my speeches was based on the song I am woman. Goes, I am strong, I am invincible, I am woman.
Oh, I love it. You sing. Yes. It is. And it's wonderful that you sing it, that you feel so good about that. Sometimes it's hard to be a woman, right? But it's not something we can peel off. It's not something that we can leave on the side. I mean, we are who we are, and that's that.
That is a fact, right? And we, in this society, we need to live with that fact. Sometimes it seems to be a little bit more difficult, especially in the field that I am in. I am in accounting, and I've noticed that accounting used to be, a man's field of expertise. And now it's been open to everyone that wants to participate in it. And sometimes it could be very difficult because you're competing with that stereotype that's out there.
Yeah. Hopefully no one has told you, you need to go back home. But I
Well,
do.
if they tell me, I won't listen anyways.
And that's what I love about you.
Silvia, I love that you have started your business. You, especially being an immigrant at coming here at age 18, a lot of people are afraid to step into business and kind of go off on their own. And I'm sure it must have been kind of scary not knowing what to expect. What brought you to do Profit First Professionals, and why the name?
Well, I think, and just going back to when I came here, part of my story was at that time that I was only going to come to the United States and hopefully survive, because I was living a civil war in El Salvador. So surviving was the main goal. But within that, my mindset was that I was only going to be doing low-paying jobs. And changing that mindset took several years, right? I have been here for a long time. So it's a work in progress. Up until now, I have to continue changing my mindset. But I've noticed when I started, well, I had a business before that failed, in quotes, failed, because I learned so much. I wouldn't call it failure, but that's another story. But then I started my accounting business, and then within the business, I realized that with my clients and even with my own business, that we entrepreneurs tend to neglect ourselves. We don't pay the salary that's fair, that's market value, and we neglect taxes and profits. So when I read the book where this Profit First comes from, the book is called Profit First, I was saying the same thing that I was thinking, that really resonated with me. And I figure this is for me. I need to become and help the entrepreneur be successful, survive, and make sure they pay themselves a decent salary, because it's hard work being a business owner. And it's not fair that you're spending money here and there and paying tons of taxes and you don't pay yourself a decent salary. So that's where my idea to becoming a Profit First professional came from.
And who are your main audiences? Who do you primarily work with?
Well, right now, we're revamping our mission and vision, and my business is proud to say that is dedicated to help women and people of color in the professional service industry, because those are the people that I relate to, and those are the people that I know what they're going through, because one, they might have the same mindset that I once had, and I can share from my experience how I did it, and then they can learn from that and apply it to their own business.
So and you mentioned this before, that you're with your clients, you're almost like a therapist.
Yes.
And with those audiences, I mean, as a woman, as a person of color, that for me, the therapy part of it, or the realizing my own worth, realizing, hey, I shouldn't underestimate or not go for the higher, things, then it fits. Like, you wouldn't think business and therapy go together, but they
right?
do. It goes with everything.
Yes, well, and I'm here, and I can tell that I can be very compassionate with the business owner, because I've been there and I know what they're going through. So to me, it's very easy to listen to them, to hear the struggles that are going through. And I can sit here with them for hours and have them share their experiences, not just in the business, but with their families, because all of the business ownership has consequences within the family as well.
It sounds like you weren't, maybe in the beginning, your mindset was different. Can you talk or share about how your mindset was, and what led to this transformation or change of mindset for you?
Yeah, it's, as I said, it was a little bit at a time. First of all, as I said, I
Civil War.
thought that coming into the country, I can only do low-paying jobs like house cleaning. Nothing wrong with those jobs, but I thought that was my idea, or maybe childcare, or maybe restaurant workers, things like that, which I've done them all. I have cleaned houses, hotel rooms. I have worked at restaurants, so I've done it, all of that. But my mind began to open, thinking that there were more possibilities when a friend of mine invited me to work at a CPA firm as a receptionist. And once I was there, I got interested in the jargon of the accounting firm, and started, taking classes just to see what it was and how it felt. So after I started taking classes and started getting A's and B's, I figured, I'll take one more class or another or another. And finally, when my kids grew a little older, I went full-time to college and got a degree. And actually getting a degree opened up my mind so much. I see young people nowadays don't want to go to college because whatever reason is going on in social media. But college education is not just about the technical parts that you learn there. It's about your mind opens up. One experience that I had is that one teacher gave us a project that it was so intense. I spent in one quarter around 200 hours working on that project, and I never knew that I had it in me. And that in itself gave me the idea that if I could do that, I could do anything I want. And as I started my business, actually after I graduated, I applied for different jobs, and I put the limitations in myself. I'm not getting hired because I'm older. I was 44, I think, when I graduated. I'm not getting hired because I have an accent. I'm not getting hired because I'm Hispanic. I'm not getting hired for all these reasons, right? So all those limitations went out the window when I finally got hired, and the environment was so bad at that job that I said, forget it. I'm out of here. And I told my husband, and he probably remembers, we've eaten shed before, we're going to eat shed again, but I'm not going to. And it was the day before Christmas. And, I cried and I was depressed. And with the New Year's, I figured, I'll just start my own business. I don't need nobody to hire me. I'm going to create my own job, and I'm going to give job to other people. And here I am.
It's beautiful how you, from your own experience, point out that inspiration is not something that is given, it's something that you find, right? And your education, it's like opening up a door for discovery, right? I definitely agree with that. You learn by far more within the experience going through the education than taking the test or doing the reading and just simply meeting the assignment.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think it's very, it's a jewel in you is this sense of justice that you carry with you. You don't look about the world in fairness, right? It's not equal treatment, but it's definitely the justice. If I work hard and I'm running a business, I deserve to be paid the same as if I was working for someone else. And you communicate that. There's something that you say when we do trainings and when you are talking about keeping a good, orderly bookkeeping system. And I don't want to steal your thunder. So tell us a little bit about what you say when you talk about the numbers.
Are you talking about creating a job or creating a business?
That's one of them, but you say that numbers tell
Oh yeah, numbers tell a story, and that's the accountant in me, right? And that's my job. I tell everybody, my clients, and in the workshops, numbers tell story. They don't lie. And if you have a bookkeeping system, a good bookkeeping system, and even your tax returns when you do your returns, you can lie to the government, but in reality, numbers don't lie. And if you see your reports that are coming out of the bookkeeping system, you can tell where every single penny that the business has generated has gone into. Has it gone into being flirtatious and spending it on frivolous things? Or has it gone into being productive and you taking care of yourself and your family as well? And that's what I would like to see in somebody's books, that they're really making themselves a priority and paying themselves a good salary. And the other thing that I say is in regards to if you want to have a business, to think well on whether you really want to have a business or you just want to be self-employed. Because wanting to be self-employed, it may look like a business, but it's not a real business. The transformation occurs when you are impacting society and you start hiring. And in our community, hiring good people and paying them good salaries really makes an impact. And for our immigration community, that's what really is going to help them move forward into society to demonstrate that, is a part of the societal environment when they offer good jobs.
And see, I think that that's what puts you apart from what I think when I think of accountants. When I think of accountants, I just think of bringing my receipts, presenting to them, and they'll do whatever they do. That's not the way it works with you. You're like,
That's
no,
not
ven
how I
acá.
work.
Tell me what this means. Why was it this way? How can we make
Right.
sense of this? And that is part, I think, of the education that we all need. I mean, personally, I've had a checkbook forever, right? And the first time I did, I was in college and my girlfriend said, "What do you mean you don't have a bank account?" Well, I didn't even have papers at that time, right? So I didn't know I could have a bank account, let alone a checkbook. So she took me to her banker and I opened up my first checking account with an overdraft protection, which I had no idea that existed or what that was. Because my friend took me, right? And she showed me how to balance the book, but that was not something that I got at home or at school even. And I thought I had a pretty good education because in Ecuador, I was studying a little bit of accounting, a little bit of bookkeeping, but that knowledge didn't transfer in my mind to my personal life, right?
To
So,
real life, right?
yeah.
Which is something we're lacking in, not only in this country, but in every country, I guess. Financial literacy and how it applies to real life.
And that's what you do. You do a little bit of everything. You bring the financial literacy, you bring the structure, and you and I have conversations about this, that acculturation that needs to happen, particularly in our immigrant community, right? Of understanding that when you open up a business here in the United States, it's befitting, it's beneficial, it's to their advantage to do it in line with whatever the rules are. Because if they do that and they keep good accounting, then they're ready to grow whenever the growth presents itself. But it's a tough lesson to teach, and you do a really good job about that. I was sharing with Rosa earlier that I love you because you are one of my friends that loves me and treats me with a lot of care, but when I need to stop, you just tell me. You don't mince the words. Dalila, that's not right. You don't say that about yourself. You don't do that. You need to take care of yourself. And that's what you do with your clients too. That's the therapy piece, right?
Yeah, that's the therapy part. Especially a lot of people, and I don't want to say specifically our community or our immigrant community, but a lot of people don't want to pay taxes. That's like a no, and I totally understand where they're coming from. But paying yourself a decent salary, you you really need to pay taxes with that money, because if you don't have the expenses to cover your salary, and if you're gonna take your profit first, which is something that I advocate, and profit is an additional to your salary, because the profit is like you are the investor as well as the employee of your company. So take your profit first. That's a reward system for you to continue working the long hours. So if you take your profit first, you're going to have to pay taxes for that too. So understand that paying taxes is a good sign. I usually tell my clients when they're going to pay taxes, and I say, congratulations, you're very profitable this year, which means in translation, you're going to have to pay taxes, and they have to plan for that as well. So it's not all about avoiding tax, which I am also proponing that if you don't have to pay, you shouldn't have to pay it, right? So that's the other side of the compliance. But if you're making a profit, you are going to pay taxes, and don't stay away from it. Plan for that, and that will make things better. And that's the therapy part, I guess, where I have to really make the clients aware that is a natural consequence, right, of making money, and it's a good thing.
Silvia, so you're a therapist, business owner, an accountant. You help people build their confidence so that they can give themselves a higher salaries and be more comfortable with what they're doing. But where do you think you get this, or why do you think you're effective at it? You obviously have been. You've been in business for over 15 years. Why are you, Silvia, good at that? And part of it, I have a feeling, has to do with something that Dalila mentioned, and how you are very gentle and compassionate, but firm.
Yeah, well, I think there are two parts of everybody's personality is nature versus nurture. The nature part is given to me by God, and I'm a strong believer. I'm a Catholic, cradle Catholic. I tell my kids I could go to church every day, and I love it. I love going to Mass. And missing Mass is missing a part of myself. So I don't want to impose that on anyone, of course. The nature part to me comes from God, and He has given me so much, or He or she, however you want to call God, has given me so much. And because of God, I have encountered so many people that have given me so much. One of the stories that I can tell you is when I became pregnant with our fifth child, my husband at the same time lost his job. So he was coming home to give me the news, and I was waiting for him to give him the news. So imagine how that shocking encounter of news to give each other. The only reliance we had at that time was God. But because of God, we have met so many people that have supported us, even through those first years until my husband found another job. We had people bringing us groceries and leaving us on the doorstep because they didn't want us to know who they were. I'm sorry. I'm shocking just thinking about that. But I have met many people like that. And I have so many friends still that have helped me through a lot. And, even Dalila, I met her a few years ago, and she's been a great support system for me. And every time I have situation. I just either text or call or we Zoom or we meet in person. But I have encountered so many people in that that have been a support system that in a way I have no choice than to do the same to others. And to me, that's not an option. I am a member of the Cursillos in Christianity movement. And in that movement, there is a saying that you lead or are allowed to be led by the people that you encounter in your square footage. You know, like right now, Delila, Rosa, and Sulema, and Doris, and Julia, and Sulema as well are part of my surrounding square footage, you know, and you are the people that are with me right now. And I can allow you to influence me and hopefully influence you in some way as well. And if I move from here, from my office where I am right now, to the hallway, I will encounter other people, and those are going to be the ones that are going to lead me or I'm going to allow to be led by. And as you move around, you will be encountering all those different peoples, and you have the choice to do one or the other, or for both of them to happen. So that's what I can say. To me, everything comes from God, and I don't know how else to express it.
I remember in my sociology class, I was a sociology major at UC Riverside, and something that stuck out to me was the idea of empathy and how people that have struggled and no struggle are the ones that tend to be the most empathetic, because they are the ones that understand what it's like to be at the bottom in different times. And so I just see your story and everything that you went through before you were 18 with the Civil War, your basic needs of, you're just trying to survive at that point, and how I'm sure that's influenced your purpose and your mission so much. And it's allowed you to become such a great voice for women and people of color that are trying to create their businesses that do not have the financial literacy. The fact, I find it so impressive, Silvia, that you're someone that continues to improve themselves. You're doing Toastmasters, and that's out of your comfort zone. You mentioned one of your challenges is overcoming the language barrier and improving that, and you don't let that get in the way. I'm just very impressed by you, Silvia. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
This is true. I mean, I can think of so many times when I have called Silvia and I have said, well, I'm not at my best right now. I'm just not feeling good. And, you know, she presents herself as a listener. She might say one or two words of comfort, but the way her whole body language is ready there to listen and to absorb. Mm-hmm. And when she feels that it's opportune to say it, then she says it, but she doesn't have the thoughts in her mind. You know, sometimes people enter into the conversation wanting to say something, and they're just listening and waiting for the moment so that they can say whatever the something is, right? That's not the experience with Silvia, and I think that that's what makes her such a great partner for small businesses. And this is something that I have heard her say, you know, sometimes she'll say to me, well, you know, I had the conversation with them, I explained what they need to do, and if that's not what they need to do, they want to do, then I told them, I'm not the person for you.
Yes.
That's a hard thing for me to do. But with her, it's like, you know, I just told them I'm not the right person for them. You know, my jaw was just dropped. But she is so clear in what her mission is that she's not uncomfortable to say the difficult things when they need to be said. And this idea of, you know, how you mentioned, Silvia, about it being in the squares of influence, I always told my girls, when you're making friends, when you are relating with someone, you have to be aware of whether you are teaching or you are learning, because we take on those roles interchangeably, right? Depending on who we're with. And I've heard my oldest use the expression a few times, because I used to tell them, si con lobo te juntas, aullar te enseñas. You know, if you run with the wolves, you're going to howl like that, right? And I've heard her say that to her friends now. But these are important things that we need to keep in mind, particularly in a world right now where we are being asked and we are asking to be inclusive. And that could be such a fluid concept, right? So does it mean that there is no limits? Does it mean that it's like all goes? You know, how do you manage that? And you mentioned about your faith, and you mentioned about your base. How do you see that fluidity? Does that mingle with your business life, or is that something that is just in a personal life? Does that come into play?
It comes into play everywhere you go, in wherever you're moving. It comes into play in the business world. You just have to be aware of what your limits are. And for myself, I have to be aware, what is it that I can do? What is it that I can handle? And what is it that I can't, where my limitations are as a person. But no, you know, you are aware of everything that's going on. And I think being a compassionate accountant, that's a rare concept, right? But I think being compassionate, not just with the clients, but with everybody in general, I think that's a new concept that we need to embrace nowadays. I don't think people are tolerating anymore that you don't even bother to listen or to care. They're having little patience for that, and I think we just need to move in that direction, being all more compassionate.
To shift the perspective of compassion being a weakness to a strength.
To a strength, right. And the only times, and I am sure even though I have gone through a lot, I'm sure there are people that have gone through a lot more than I have, or not even maybe a lot more, but different experience from what I have experienced. And I probably won't be able to relate at that level, but the fact that we are all going through something or have gone through something at that level, yes, I can relate to them and be compassionate in that way.
I think that's another important aspect of life that it's really easy to overlook, that compassion for self. We can be very compassionate to others, right? And that's a lesson that you teach me all the time. But to be compassionate to yourself, right? So sometimes I would say, oh, I was so dumb. And Sylvia would tell me, no, Dalila, do not treat yourself like that.
Can you rephrase that?
But it's important to be compassionate to yourself, to give yourself the elasticity to fall, to fail, understanding that there will be an opportunity for you to pick up and move forward, right? And grow from that. You mentioned that your first business failed, but you don't see it as a failure because it taught you.
Don't call it a failure. I call it a learning experience. I learned a lot from that.
And that perspective makes a difference, because you can be carrying that weight on your shoulders, right? Of how awful that was. Instead, you look at, what did I learn from it? And how can I use that knowledge? What is something that stays with you most of your working days from those learning experiences? There's something that you can go that is like a go-to place. Oh, I have to remember this so that I do that. Is there something that comes to you when you're in those moments of, what do I do now?
Yeah, especially when it's making decisions. When you're a business owner, you're constantly making decisions. And I always go back to what is priority in my life. And priority in my life is my family. And if this business decision is going to affect my family, then I don't make it, or I consulted with them and make sure we're all in alignment. Or is it going to affect my employees? How is it going to affect my employees? And if it's going to hurt them in any way, then I don't make it. But also the fact that if I'm going to take risks that I know is probably not going to affect the immediate people around myself, it's just like I'm afraid because whatever limitations I have on my head, then I go back. Okay, so I did have 5 children and I survived. My children are healthy and beautiful.
And they're
so,
alive.
And they're alive, right? And I'm alive. So I did graduate from college, and especially that one particular class. I hated my professor at that time, but and now I thank her because she made me stick with it, and I did get a lot of good. So I go through all the things that I have, limitations that I thought I had in the past, and I figured if I made it then, what makes me think that I can make it again? So, and what happens if I don't make it? It's just going to be another learning experience. So nothing major will happen. And that's how I do my own therapy on myself.
I think that that's a really good nugget to keep. What I heard you say is that when you're making decisions, you try to sort out, is this something that is going to put my loved ones and what I love at risk, or my responsibilities at risk? Or is this something that I am worried about because of all the limitations I put on myself?
Right.
I think that that's a nugget that I'm going to take and I'm going to be thinking about. I know that you teach me to say no, because contrary to you, right? Everything looks good. Like, oh yeah, I can do it. And there's only 24 hours a day, but sometimes I think that they're 48 instead of 24. And I have been learning with you to say, yeah, that sounds like a really good opportunity, but I can't do it right now. It's not the right time. It's not healthy for me. And lately you have been sharing with me the example, and this is where you are a leader. This is where you are my role model, right? You have been sharing with me how you decline an opportunity. So is it okay for you to share with us how you declined that wonderful opportunity? Because it's not.
Yeah. Well, I'll share a little bit. I won't go into too much detail, but I had the opportunity to teach at a university, the extension program, to teach a tax class in Spanish. So Spanish is my first language, so that wasn't an issue. I did have to translate the curriculum from English to Spanish. That would have taken a lot of work, and I'm not afraid of work. So I've worked long hours before, so that's not an issue either. But the fact that, and the opportunity was great. Like, it was the golden nugget. I could have chased it and gone through the whole thing. But I do suffer from fibromyalgia, and I do love my family, and my husband and I are very close, and I love spending time with him. So it was a matter, okay, I can do all this work, but that will require that I spend long hours translating this program and providing the teaching. And I'm not willing to be there anymore. Like, I have been stressed by need while raising my kids. It was a necessary stress. I have also been stressed without need, and I am not willing to be stressed unnecessarily anymore. So I pick my battles very carefully. And so I declined that opportunity. I hope it presents itself again. But at this time, it wasn't the right time for me. And, what you were saying, Delila, a few seconds ago, there is only 24 hours in the day. And I know because I am a strong woman and I am invincible that I know I can do it all. But I cannot do it all in 24 hours. And my 8 hours of sleep are precious, so don't touch those. So that leaves me with 16 hours, and there is only so many things you can do in 16 hours. So you have to be very careful with the battles or the projects you choose to undertake.
Yeah. You also talked a little bit about faith, right? You mentioned that you're Catholic, and I love that you said, I know that to some level I felt poked, and I imagine Rosa did too, when you said that, you could go to Mass every day. I don't know that I could go to Mass every day, but I definitely would welcome the opportunity to step into the church every day. That there is a peace that I encounter when the church itself, the building, is empty, and I can be there with my thoughts and with the spirit inside of me, right? And that's my encounter with God. And you said that to your kids. I sometimes try to be careful not to say too much to my kids because they're young and they're discovering, and they're definitely setting the path, right, that they're going to walk through. And they find a lot of fault to, and I tell them this, it's not to the faith. They find a lot of fault with the institution, with the church itself, right? And you and I have had those conversations, and I think that you and I have come to the agreement that nothing is perfect that is created by humans, because none of us are.
Right.
And if we accept that, then the rest is easier to tolerate. But how do you enter into those spaces with your kids? And maybe I'm putting you on the spot here, but how do you enter in those spaces?
I don't enter into those spaces. I kind of, if they approach me and they ask me, I'll give them what I think and what I come from. But I don't push my religion on them, and I don't push it on anybody. This is my faith. I have my reasons for wanting to follow it. One is cultural. I grew up Catholic. And the other one is that I have found the spiritual nuggets within the Catholic Church that are really dear to me. And so I don't, if one of my sons, Kevin, the other day told me, what time are you going to church? Because I want to go. He hasn't gone to church in ages. So I just told him, we're going at 11, be there by 10:30 if you want to go. He was there by fine. But if he doesn't want to go, then
oh, beautiful.
He's going to find his own, we're all in the search, and they're going to find their own way of connecting spiritually to whoever and whenever, and that's on them. Like I gave them the foundation if they wanted to follow the Catholic Church. I gave them the foundation, but at this point it doesn't seem like they do, so that's okay with me. I have no problem. And as you said, I have problems with the institution, and I have problems with some, the human beings sometimes, how they behave, but they're just human beings. It doesn't take away with the purpose for everything that happens, or the teachings of the church have a purpose to help you grow within your spirituality. And that to me is very dear, and I love it. And I just take the bigger purpose. I don't take all the humanity that goes into it. If it's negative, I don't take it into account. If it's positive, great, because that will help me grow. But the symbols and and the traditions, all of those help me a lot. What can I say?
I appreciate you being open and not judging others for not being the same way, because that could push people away from pursuing, religion as
spirituality,
a way to showcase their spirituality. Funny story that I told you guys, my best friend got married Saturday.
Right.
Oh my God, beautiful, beautiful wedding. But we were at the wedding rehearsal Thursday evening, and then my best friend and I realized, oh my God, we have not confessed yet. The bride and the maid of honor have not confessed yet. And
we don't take confessions, okay?
And I confirmed her a few months prior, and we're freaking out. Fortunately, we were able to bring out the priest to confess everyone before, but there could have been some more judgment on my mom. My mom was like, how are you going to get married and not be confessed? There was a little more judgment on that side, but fortunately they got married and were able to do things and cleanse themselves before. But the openness, the lack of judgment is something that, allows those of us that may not be as on top of it to feel comfortable to continue in that journey.
Yeah, God is a lot more loving and more compassionate than we human beings are.
But I think that also we have grown a little different, right? Our generation, Sylvia. There are those moms who, will point with the finger and say, that's wrong, and this is how it needs to be done. And then there are those of us, and I'm going to include myself there, not perfect, but that's what I strive for, that are more accepting of the process, because religion and faith, it's a process. It's something that you go through life. It's not a point of destination, immediate destination, that is. It really is a journey that goes on, and to allow and to welcome the exploration of self, the possibility of encounter with God in those small moments. I know people in my life who say, oh no, I don't believe it, and I don't believe in the church, and I don't want this, and I don't want that. But then they'll call me and say, can you say a prayer? Or can you pray for me? Or they can say, or they'll say, can you light a candle? Catholicism is something that you can try to leave, but it does not leave you if you were raised in the Catholic faith, right? You can leave the church, but the faith does not leave you. It's something that stays with you. And I think it's a beautiful gift that is passed on generation to generation. I am guilty of putting guilt on my kids. I sometimes will tell them, well, you're going to have to explain it to your grandpa, because abuelito is not as forgiving as, or understanding as I might be. So if you can explain it to your grandpa, I'm okay with it. So I will put, some layers of guilt. And like I said, I try. And I'm not perfect. I'm only human, right? But I think that there is more of us who are ready and willing to accompany our younger generations in their path of faith. And it doesn't have to be under the structure of a particular church. I am also Catholic, and there is so much that I love in terms of the rituals and the customs of Catholicism. And I think that they have a value because they're passed down from generation to generation, and that adds value to it. Yes, there is a lot of suffering. Yes, there is a lot of horrible history with that, but that's humanity, right? It's not meant to be perfect because it's humanity. Do we learn from our mistakes?
That's the problem with. But yeah, I think the beauty of our Catholic religion is not just a religion, it's a cultural aspect of it too that goes with it, especially for us immigrants in a strange country, right? So to me, even when I first came into the United States, I went to my first mass in English, but since it's universal, like I was reciting the prayers in Spanish, the same prayers everybody was reciting in English, and it was like a little piece of home in a strange country. So
Right.
it's
That's
the
true.
cultural with the religious that go together, and is the basis, right? If anybody wants to grow beyond just the Sunday practices, there is so much more
Right.
there.
When I studied abroad in Spain, oh my God, how much I missed my family. That was about 8 months of being out there, but I did the same thing when I would travel through different cities. I would go to the churches and it just reminded me of home.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there is a value with that. And I think that sometimes we fail to recognize the value, and that's why our kids kind of like slam the door on us. But if we recognize it, when my family and I traveled from Ecuador, we went to Ecuador actually, and then we stopped at Mexico for 10 hours, 7 hours, or we had a layover. One of the things that we did in Ecuador, in Quito, is we visited the churches. And my kids, particularly my oldest, was very firm. If there was mass being presided, she would tell us, no, we can't go in there. That's disrespectful. We're coming to see the building when they are practicing their faith. I mean, that I think speaks volumes a lot more than her telling me, no, I don't want to go to Christmas mass with you. I know you like it, you can go, but I don't want to go.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you so
That's
much for sharing all of that with us.
Mhm.
And, it always happens before we know it, we're coming to closing time out, Rosa.
Yeah, right.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much, Silvia, for joining us. Now, if anyone wants to connect with you, what are the best ways for them to do so?
Well, I am in just about every social media venue out there: Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube. I'm not too active. I have something in there, but you can Google me. You'll find me. And my website is SMG Business Services.com, and you can all my information is in there, so you can access me via the website.
So if anyone wants to put their profit first and needs help with their accounting practices, Silvia's your girl.
She'll help you understand your
Only-
story.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe some
There's
therapy
a
to go
story in
along
all
with
those
it.
numbers, right?
Right, right.
I really want to thank you for having me. I really have enjoyed the conversation here with you.
Thank
ladies.
you. Thank you. It really is a space that is very dear to our heart. Rosa and I are having a lot of fun and learning a lot and creating a stronger bond every time that we have a conversation. So thank you very much for coming into this space with us.
Mhm. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we want to thank our listeners for hopping on during lunchtime and listening in. We do have food for thought, your quote, as we do every other week. So usually everybody else can see our shadow. So it is crucial that we learn what everybody else knows about us, except us.
Mhm.
Thank you. Cafecito Con is a production of two intergenerational women who hope to bring you conversations with women for women. You can listen live every other Thursday at noon by connecting with us via the Clubhouse phone app. You can download the app and look for us by our name, Cafecito Con. You can follow Cafecito Con to get alerts of our upcoming shows. We now have a Facebook page, and it is the same handle that it is for our Instagram, if you would like to leave us a message. And that is number two, Cafecito Con, all in one word, 2 Cafecito. And see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, lovely ladies.